I found out I was the family secret. Growing up, I never questioned why I looked nothing like my siblings. I always chalked it up to genetics, recessive traits, or some complicated family science I didn't care to explore. My older brother Nathan had Dad's thick dark hair and Mom's bright green eyes. My sister Anna had their same high cheekbones, that signature smirk, even the same laugh. And then there was me. Brown hair that was closer to auburn than black, hazel eyes that shifted with the light, and skin a few shades paler. When I was little, people would sometimes mistake me for the neighbor's kid. My mom would laugh it off, he's just our little genetic curveball. I believed her. Until last month. It started when Dad passed away. Sudden heart attack. No warning. One moment, he was mowing the lawn. The next, he was on the ground. Gone. The funeral was a blur, faces I barely recognized offering condolences, casseroles, and far too many questions about what came next. What came next, apparently, was a will. And secrets. A few days after the funeral, we sat in the lawyer's office, Mom, Nathan, Anna, and me. I didn't expect anything major. My dad wasn't rich. We had a modest house, a few savings, maybe some life insurance. But when the lawyer opened the folder, he looked uncomfortable. I just need to verify something, he said, adjusting his glasses. We have 3 children listed here, Nathan, Anna, and Daniel. That's me, I said. He frowned. I see. I just need to double-check something. He pulled out a second document and whispered something to my mom. Her face turned white. Is this really necessary? She asked. I'm afraid it is, the lawyer replied. That's when the room changed. Suddenly, there was a tension so thick it made my skin crawl. The lawyer finally looked at me. Daniel, according to this version of the will, updated 2 years ago, you are listed as a beneficiary under certain conditions. Conditions? I echoed, confused. He hesitated. It's related to your parentage. What are you talking about? Nathan snapped. Mom buried her face in her hands. The lawyer sighed. Daniel, your father, Mr. Carter, was not your biological father. Silence. You know that moment in movies where the character hears devastating news and everything goes quiet except for the ringing in their ears? That happened. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My hands went cold. Nathan was the first to speak. That's ridiculous. The lawyer shook his head. Mr. Carter included documentation, a DNA test he had done privately. He found out about 2.5 years ago. He left Daniel something personal in his will. If you'd like to see it. I couldn't speak. Just nodded. He handed me a letter, sealed in an envelope with my dad's handwriting on the front, for Daniel, when you're ready. I opened it right there with trembling hands. Dear Daniel. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and I didn't get the chance to tell you in person. I'm sorry for that. 2 years ago, I discovered something that shook me to my core. I found out that I wasn't your biological father. Your mom had an affair before you were born and kept it a secret. At first, I was furious. Betrayed. But when I looked at you, really looked, I realized it didn't matter. You were my son. You always were. From the moment I held you in the hospital, you were mine. I didn't confront your mother because, in the end, I loved her. And I loved you. I didn't want to destroy our family. But I also didn't want to lie to you forever. So here it is. The truth. You have another biological father out there, but in every way that matters, I was your dad. I hope you believe that. I left you something special in the garage. You'll know it when you see it. With all my love. Dad. I don't remember crying, but my shirt was soaked by the time I finished reading. Nathan and Anna were staring at Mom, who hadn't said a word. "Is it true?" Nathan finally asked. She nodded. "I didn't want any of you to know. It was one mistake. One night. I thought I could bury it." She looked at me then, her face streaked with tears. "But I never loved you any less, Daniel. I promise you that." I didn't know what to say. What do you say to that? The next few days were a haze. I went through the motions. Ate. Slept. Sat in silence. Eventually, I went to the garage. My dad's old workspace smelled like oil and sawdust. On the bench was a wooden box with my name carved into it. Inside was a photo album. Every picture was of me and him. My first steps. My third birthday. Fishing trips. Soccer games. School plays. On the last page, he'd written, "A father isn't defined by DNA. It's defined by love." I broke down. Ugly, heaving, choking sobs that left me curled up on the floor. I don't know how long I stayed there. It's been a month now. I haven't spoken to my mom since. Not because I hate her, but because I don't know how to face her yet. Nathan is pissed. He's always been protective of me, and now he's got this idea in his head that Mom betrayed all of us. Anna's more neutral. She says we need time. Maybe she's right. I did some digging, found out who my biological father is. He's a professor in another state. Married. Kids. I haven't reached out. I don't know if I ever will. Because in my heart, I already had a father. He raised me. Taught me everything. Loved me fiercely. The biology doesn't matter. But the betrayal? That's going to take a while to get over. I'm not sure why I'm writing this here. Maybe I just needed to get it out. To anyone who's ever felt like the odd one out in their family, maybe there's a reason. Or maybe, like me, you were always part of the family that mattered most, the one who chose you, no matter what. Thanks for listening. Daniel. It's been 3 months since I found out the man I called Dad wasn't biologically mine. 3 months since I read his letter. Since I opened that box in the garage. Since I felt like my whole identity cracked down the middle. Since then, I've been floating. I started therapy. Not because I wanted to, my sister Anna practically dragged me there. But after a few sessions, I realized I needed it more than I thought. The betrayal, the grief, the confusion, it was all too big to carry alone. But that's not what this update is about. This is about him. My biological father. I'll call him Dr. P here, he's a tenured professor at a university 2 states away. Found him through some online sleuthing. It wasn't hard, honestly. A few ancestry sites, a bit of Facebook scrolling, and a whisper of resemblance I couldn't unsee once I saw it. His smile. It's mine. At first, I just watched. Lurked. I found his LinkedIn, his university bio, even a podcast he was on a year ago about environmental policy. I listened to the whole thing. Twice. Not because I cared about wetland regulations, but because I wanted to hear his voice. He has a family. A wife. 2 daughters. One of them looks around my age. Every time I almost closed the browser and promised myself I'd let it go, I didn't. Eventually, I sent him an email. Just one line. I believe I'm your biological son. I don't want to cause any trouble. I just want to understand who I am. He replied the next morning. Subject, I'm not sure how to respond. Daniel. This is unexpected. I don't know what to say, or if this is even real. But your name, and the timing, aligns with something I've quietly wondered about for over 2 decades. I need time. But I'm not closing the door. Let me reach back out. P. A week passed. Then two. Then I got another message. Would you be open to a phone call? I think I need to hear your voice. We talked that night. For nearly 2 hours. He was nervous. I could hear it in his breath, the way his voice cracked when he said my name. But he didn't deny it. He didn't run. He told me about my mother. How they'd met at a conference years ago, one night, no contact afterward. He said he always wondered if something came of it, but he never heard from her again. I didn't even know your name until now, he said quietly. But I always wondered. He asked if I wanted to meet. And I said yes. We met at a coffee shop halfway between us. I told no one, not my siblings, not my mother. It felt too big to share. He was already there when I arrived. Sitting near the window. He stood when he saw me, and for a second, we both just stared. It was like looking into an alternate version of myself, older, tired, but familiar. We hugged. Awkward, but real. We sat. Talked. I asked questions. He answered them. No, he didn't know. Yes, he wanted to be respectful of my boundaries. Yes, he had a family. No, they didn't know about me. He looked pained when he said that last part. I don't know how to tell them. I'm afraid they'll see me differently. I nodded. Yeah. Welcome to the club. He smiled at that. A sad smile. We didn't try to play catch-up. There's too much lost time. But he told me about his life, his career, his hobbies. I told him about mine. When I mentioned my dad, the man who raised me, his eyes softened. He must have been a good man, he said. The best, I replied. Then he surprised me. I'd like to visit his grave, if you'd be okay with that. I didn't answer right away. I didn't know how to feel about that. But I said yes. A week later, we went together. It was a gray, rainy day. The cemetery was quiet. I brought him to the stone and just stood back while he knelt. I don't know what he said to the man who raised his son. But his lips moved. His eyes were glassy. And when he stood up, he turned to me and whispered. I'm sorry I wasn't there. But I'm here now, if you'll have me. I didn't know what to say. Still don't. My mom still doesn't know I met him. I'm not ready for that conversation. Maybe I'm still angry. Maybe I'm protecting myself. But the truth is, I'm not writing this update for closure. I'm writing it because something unexpected happened that day. As we were leaving the cemetery, Dr. P reached into his coat and handed me a small envelope. Inside was a photo. A scanned image of a sonogram. Me. I found this in a file of old conference materials, he said. Your mom must have slipped it in without a word. Maybe she hoped I'd figure it out. I stared at it for a long time. It was the first image of me that predated everything I knew. My beginning. I still don't know where this story ends. I don't know if I'll ever be close to him. I don't know how I'll explain it to my siblings. I don't even know if I want to. But I'm learning something important. Family is complicated. Love isn't always clean. And sometimes, finding the truth doesn't bring peace, but it does bring clarity. If you're out there wondering whether to reach out, to ask the question, to chase the truth, I won't tell you what to do. But I'll say this. I don't regret knowing. Not anymore. Thanks for reading. Daniel. I got my truth, I met the man whose DNA I carry, and I started therapy. That felt like closure. But life doesn't work that way. Especially not when secrets keep colliding with people who aren't ready to face them. About a week ago, I got a text from my sister Anna. Did you really meet him? I stared at it for 5 full minutes before typing back. Who told you? She sent a single word. Mom. My heart dropped. Let me rewind a bit. After I met Dr. P, my biological father, I kept things quiet. I didn't want to blow up my family again. I was still trying to process what that meeting even meant to me. I didn't know where it would go, and honestly, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an update yet. But secrets have a way of surfacing, especially when emotions are high and guilt is involved. Apparently, Dr. P reached out to my mom. He didn't tell me he planned to do that. I don't think it was malicious, I think he genuinely wanted closure, or maybe even some kind of peace. But he wrote her a letter. A respectful, carefully worded, guilt-laced letter. He mailed it to the house I grew up in. I guess he assumed she still lived there. She did. She read it. She lost it. She called Anna in tears. Told her everything. Said she felt betrayed. Said I had gone behind her back. That I'd sided with a stranger over my own mother. When I finally picked up her call, she didn't even say hello. Just. How dare you? I tried to stay calm. I'd rehearsed this conversation in my head 100 times. I didn't do it to hurt you, I said quietly. Then why didn't you tell me, she snapped. Because I knew you'd react like this. There was a long pause. Then her voice cracked. I kept him away for a reason, Daniel. I wanted to protect you. I couldn't help myself. I laughed, bitterly. Protect me? From what? From the truth. You let me grow up thinking something that wasn't real. You lied to Dad. You lied to me. He wasn't your father biologically, but he was your father in every way that mattered. I know that. I shouted. I never said he wasn't. You don't get to use that as a shield from accountability. She was crying now. So was I. And then she said something I didn't expect. I thought if I admitted it out loud, it would make it real. And I couldn't risk that. I sat in silence. That felt honest. She continued. I wasn't proud of what I did. I was scared. And your father, your real father, he didn't even know. I thought it was better to let it go. Pretend it never happened. But it did happen, I whispered. And I'm the proof. We didn't talk for long after that. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I was just shouting into a void. I felt like maybe she finally saw me. Not as the lie she tried to protect, but as the man who deserved the truth. A few days later, I got an envelope in the mail. It was from her. Inside was a letter. No return address. No text messages, no voicemails, just this handwritten note, folded twice, soft at the creases. Daniel. You're right. I owed you the truth. I didn't protect you, I protected myself. From shame. From guilt. From what your father would have thought if he were alive. I was afraid that meeting him would change the way you saw your life. But I see now that it didn't. It only changed the way you saw me. And maybe I deserve that. I won't ask you to forgive me. I'll just ask that when you're ready, you come home. We can talk. No lies. I miss you every day. Love. Mom. I didn't expect to cry reading it. But I did. Because even though I'd been so angry at her, I still wanted her to be my mom. Not a perfect one. Just a real one. Last night, I went back to the house. The house where I grew up, where my dad taught me how to ride a bike, where we had pancake Sundays and late-night movies and the sound of the garage door slamming every night at 6. She opened the door before I even knocked. We just stood there for a moment. Then she reached for me. And I let her. We talked for hours. Not just about Dr. P. Not just about the affair. We talked about Dad. What he was like when I was a baby. How much he loved me. How hard he fought for our family even when he suspected something wasn't right. He knew before the test, she admitted softly. I saw it in his eyes. But he chose you anyway. That broke me. And it healed me at the same time. I don't know where things go from here. Dr. P and I still talk occasionally. Nothing dramatic. Just two men trying to understand each other. Mom and I are working on rebuilding trust. Anna's been my rock. Nathan is still angry, but I think he'll come around. Maybe this story didn't end the way I thought it would. But maybe it didn't need to. I used to think the worst thing was being lied to. But now I realize, the worst thing is not knowing who you are. And now I do. I'm Daniel Carter. I'm the son of a man who chose me, even when he didn't have to. And I'm finally done running from the truth. Thank you for listening.